Hi, thank you. Minister, in your comments about spiralling costs, you said the NDIS needed to return to providing reasonable and necessary supports, and you've also referred to shoddy therapies. Could you give us some examples of what you think are some unreasonable and unnecessary supports that are going to help with that spiralling cost issue, and how you plan on dealing with those?
One of the ways reasonable and necessary should be based on what's evidentially sound. Listen, I take my life in my own hand. I don't want to get hate mail, but I am not convinced that NDIS money, I'm not saying it ever has, should be used for tarot reading. You know, that's the sort of one which seems to float up on Twitter. I haven't identified quite where it's happened yet, so whether or not it's but that's out. I think the better and sounder approach, though, other than just using a sort of basic common sense test of what public and people on the scheme would sustain. See, the thing is, there's almost been a bit of binary division in the way that we talk about the NDIS, that somehow the public want one thing and the participant wants something else. This is the magical light bulb moment. The participants and the public want the same things. There's not a competition between the two. They're not in two sets of trenches against each other. So I think that what we need to do is give our planners and the agency better swim lanes about what works and what doesn't. You can imagine that if you've got a child who is not developing in the way which you thought they might initially, this is very stressful times. You can then imagine that if there's a shortage of psychologists and a shortage of professional help, someone says, well, the NDIS at least will get you something. Then you can imagine, though, that you have to prepare reports. It's pretty stressful. Then you have got a 12-month plan, and if you feel that you haven't used up all your money by month 10, because it's short-term plans, you have this perverse incentive, I better spend it, because if I don't spend it, they may take it off me. This is where I think having evidence and experienced and skilled planners can help make sure that people aren't getting hoodwinked. But that's partly the government's fault too. And again, I must say to all of the allied health service professionals and others who might be watching this and saying, oh no, most people do a great job. So it's not about everyone, but I do think that if we have better evidence-based processes supported by the agency, referable like the PBS, you know, not everything, just because we have subsidised drugs doesn't mean that you get every drug subsidised. And I think that there's an opportunity there for us to use third-party evidence, not for individuals, but just for the general science of what we do.